What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bearded Life, and thank you for tuning in for episode 2 of the Chronicles of the Bearded Dad. So to say my life hasn't exactly gone down as planned would probably be a fair statement right now. To recap just a little bit, we have seen me go from married, young kids, good job, wife, all that happy stuff, to now I am being told it's time for me to go. And that's, look, everybody can say whatever they want to say, right? When a marriage ends or whatever, oh, to hell with her, and, it was never real. I'm not, that's not reality. I married the girl for a reason. I was with the girl for so long for a reason. I loved the girl. That's it. I'm not going to sit here and lie about it now because it didn't work out. Where's the facts behind that? I loved the girl. That was reality. Okay? I had planned it. Wow, good job, Joe. I had planned on spending eternity with her. That was my plan here. Marriage, job, kids, happiness, home, maybe even a white picket fence and a dog. Who knows? But unfortunately, things just didn't go the way I had planned them not to go. And, we try so hard to become this version of ourselves that we think society wants us to be, and we think what the world and what we should be, right? That inside that we kind of lose track of ourselves. And with all that had happened in my life up to this point, and losing the normal job and losing now my family and all, I had almost lost every version of myself. I really didn't know who I was at this point. I didn't know what was going on, and I refused to accept that this was happening. I could have easily grabbed the phone and called my parents and told them, hey, I need some help. I need a place to stay. I need this, I need that. But instead, my pride wouldn't allow me to do it. I couldn't pick up the phone and call them. I refused to do it. I spent weeks, maybe about a week, sleeping on different people's couches until finally I decided to stay in my friend's house. He let me stay in his basement. And this wasn't like a finished basement or something. This was, your run-of-the-mill basement. As I stayed there for a little while longer, they painted the floor, put a nicer couch in, stuff like that for me. But it still wasn't the kind of basement that was suited for somebody to live in, really. I refused to admit that this was my position in life, that I had lost everything that I cared about so much that quickly. I did not want to come to terms with that. I did not want to accept it. And I did not want to accept that I was in this position because there was nothing I could do about it. I wanted to believe that there was a way I could get past my health issues, when the reality was they were here. This was it. These tumors were in my head. They were on my back, and it was going to take a very long time to work this whole process out. Just to kind of give you guys a little foreshadowing here, I'm still in the process of going for more brain surgeries that are needed at this point. And it's not, at this point in life, I accept it. But back then, I refused to accept it. And let me give you a little family history here real quick. My mother, my grandmother, my uncle, my cousins, all my mom's side have all been diagnosed with this. And if you go and look at my mother, my grandmother, my cousins and them, they've had some horrible battles with this condition. And every time they would go in for a surgery, to me, it felt like they came out in worse shape. So when they told me these tumors were back in my brain, I almost avoided the surgeon like I don't even know, man. Like he was like a cop or something, and I had drugs in the car or something. I didn't want to go anywhere near him because to me, I was not going to come out of surgery okay. I was not going to come out of surgery because throughout my life and my experience, the only one who had come out of surgeries okay, if you will, was me and my uncle and my cousin, really. The rest of us had all had some pretty rough runs with this stuff and had wound up in pretty bad shape. So the idea of going for surgery to my family with the tumors in the head, it was a scary concept because it never really involved just one surgery. That's what you have to understand. These tumors are known to appear bilaterally. So if you have one that appears, let's say, here in the acoustic nerves, you're going to have another one that pops up here like I did. That's why I had the dual surgeries when I was 18. So imagine, if you will, all this has gone on, but you won't accept any of it. You won't accept that these tumors are back. You won't accept that you're not working. You won't accept that you're on the road to a divorce, really. You won't accept that you can't go home. And you're just in complete denial about the whole thing. Everybody sees you and all I'm saying, oh, I'm good. I'm fine. But the reality is I was far from fine. Okay? I was drinking too much. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I would go 6-7 days without sleeping. Okay. And I mean, I don't sleep a lot now, but that's because of my head and stuff. But back then it was just a simple choice, really. My mental state wouldn't allow me to turn anything off. And rather than going and talk to someone or figure out what I was going through or try and get my life put back together, I just continued to fall deeper and deeper into a hole of denial. And while I continued to try and act like things were fine for Sam, reality was things were worse than they had ever been. I mean, me and her mother could not even be near each other without an explosion happening. We'd start screaming at each other, yelling on the front lawns. And for what? Why? I'm not blaming her. This was as much my fault as it was hers, because I wouldn't accept that she had moved on, that it was over for me. We were done. And instead, I kept getting angry over things. I kept getting angry if I heard she was going on a date with someone or if she was doing this. Things would just set me into a different level. And I don't know. I couldn't come to terms with the fact that this is what was happening to me. And I was not in good shape. I was probably as thin as I had ever been. I was unhappy. But yet, if you saw me in public, big smile, like everything was fine. I pretended I was okay. Guys, if something's happening, if you're not okay, don't put on an act for people. Go get help. Go tell someone. Go talk to anyone. I don't care who it is. Anyone. You got friends, you got family, you need to talk to a therapist, fine. Go get help, because holding it all in doesn't do you any good. I used to think it did. I did. I used to think, what's the point of talking about something? What's it good's going to do me? It still happened. This still happened. It's done. There's no use in talking about it, right? No, that's wrong. Because even if you say to yourself, I'm moving past it all, the human mind is really amazing, and we bury everything back there, and we think that because we've forgotten about it, that it's really removed from our minds. No, it's there. And it's just waiting for something to trigger it, and it's eating away at you, making you as unhappy as you've ever been. It's so much better to just deal with these things and try to work past them than it is to deny them and just continue to move on with your life as if it never happened. At this point, I was seeing Sam on an every other day basis while I was staying with my friends. But honestly, the best thing that happened to me in this whole situation would happen. So my parents were having a barbecue and they invited Sam over. She was spending the weekend with them. And they asked me to come by too. So I did, of course. And that night, for whatever reason, I just decided to stay that night. I hadn't gotten to spend the night with my daughter in a long time. So I decided I'm going to stay here for the night. I'll go home in the morning, right? And when I got back to my friend's house in the morning, the landlord had come in and seen that somebody was using the basement for an improper means, basically. In other words, it wasn't a safe place for somebody to live in. It didn't have 2 exits for in case of emergencies. It wasn't finished. It really wasn't a room per se. It was a basement. And he said, listen, nobody can stay down here. And I had to leave. And that actually made me grab the phone, call my parents, admit what was going on, finally, for the first time in a long time, tell them exactly what was going on, how bad things were, and that I needed a place to stay. And of course, my parents, they absolutely Joe. And while this might seem like another bump in the road, if you will, hey, he's got to move again, this was honestly the best thing that could have happened at the time. Because moving in with my parents meant I could start getting back to normal. My daughter was over here more often. I was spending full weekends with her again. Things were getting better. I was getting happier, and I was accepting the fact that this was my new life and that it was time to move on. Little by little, I was piecing myself back together again. And, really at the center of all this was Sam. Because through it all, I just kept looking at my daughter and realizing I got to get better. I have to do better. And I kept trying to do better for her and come out of this somehow a better person. I'm not going to sit here and tell you guys life's not going to knock you down. It is. It's going to kick you in the mouth. It's going to do all it can at times. And at times it's going to feel like, why bother? What's the point? You can't think like that. I did for a long time. I did. I even had it in my mind that maybe Sam was better off without me, and that just wasn't true. It's just not true. You need to fight. You need to remind yourself that your biggest responsibility in life is to your child, and that she deserves you at whatever your best can be, okay? And I got news for you. They don't care, man. They don't care if you can't buy them millions of things or if you can't do what the parents down the street are doing. I've never been able to give Sam all the things that other people can give their parents, but I do my best and she appreciates it and loves it. And that little girl has made me feel so much better about myself more times than I care to admit. So just when things started to feel like I was starting to find my footing again and things were starting to get back to normal a little bit, as life has a habit of doing to me, somebody decided to take another big swing at us and try and throw me and Sammy Cakes off our track one more time. But that's a story for another day. Guys, thank you so much if you have sat through these first 2 episodes. And again, I just want to say to anyone watching this, I don't care if you're a dad, a mom, an uncle, an aunt, a legal guardian, whatever. If you got a story and you want to tell it, I'm here to listen. And I thank you all for joining me. And I hope you come back for the 3rd episode. Be safe out there, guys. We love you.